All right, welcome back to the Zero Powerlifting Podcast. Thank you, CJ, for setting this up. We are proudly sponsored by Establishment Coffee Co. Check out establishmentcoffee.com.au. Use the code 025 for 25% off and free shipping. Today, I'm going to address a question that I frequently get whenever I do Q&As on Instagram. And the question is along the lines of, who are other coaches to follow, or who inspires you, or who do you look up to in this industry? And I'm going to give an annoying answer to the question because I don't really like the question that much. The reason I don't really like the question that much is because people ask other coaches this a lot, and it tends to turn into like this is going to make me sound really salty. It tends to turn into a bit of a confirmation bias circle jerk. And I don't actually think that people reflect very well sometimes on who has inspired them or who has really encouraged them down the path that they're going down. I feel like, especially in the age of information sharing, of Instagram, of YouTube, of Facebook, that we actually draw quite a lot of inspiration from many sources without realizing it. We consume so much content and information, and a lot of the times it subconsciously sort of drives our decisions, or it subconsciously drives some of the processes that we use, how we present ourselves, the kind of content that we put out there. So rather than giving you a list of people who inspire me or who I look up to in this industry, I'm going to segue a little bit for a second and first talk about the idea of progression in this industry, and hopefully my progression in this industry might help you reframe the way that you look at yourself, your brand, your business, and help you start to elevate to whatever the next level of business is for you. So what I'm talking about specifically is we all tend to do this when we start off as new coaches. What we do is we look at everyone around us. We look at everyone side to side, and inherently we start to compare ourselves to those people. We put ourselves in line with these people, right? So we're watching what person A and person B and person C are doing. We're sort of trying to keep up with the race. We're all running forward together, and we're really keeping a close eye on what the other people are doing. And every now and then there's someone that kind of breaks away, that inches ahead, that disappears in front of us, and eventually they're gone. And if we don't focus on those people, if we keep the focus on the people side to side, it's really hard to know what's going to be the thing that helps us break free from that line. And the risk of staying in that line is, especially in this industry, is developing a bit of a scarcity mindset where you start to feel like when someone else gets a client or someone else gets one of your clients, that there's not enough clients to go around. And that can breed a really, really, really salty coach, a really salty business approach where you really reflect that saltiness in the way that you present yourself. You know, you start saying things, making posts like, if your coach does this, get a new coach, that kind of thing. You stop focusing on the things that you can control, and you start looking at what everyone else is doing. And this has been made so easy for us because of social media. We're constantly surrounded by what everyone else is doing, and it's easy to put a lot of focus in that. What I'm telling you here is, if you want to break away from that line, try and start to pay attention to who is ahead of you. Start to pay attention to who's doing the things that you want to do, who is where you want to be. Start looking at what are they doing? What are they doing well? What are they maybe not doing well? What are they doing that maybe you don't want to do? But also, what is the thing, what is the key aspect that's allowed them to get ahead? And you have to do that by removing bias. You have to do that by removing emotion, because there's going to be people who are ahead of you that you might not deem are as smart as you. And the big thing with business is that you don't actually have to be real smart to get ahead in business. It's not about who's the brainiest when it comes to coaching. Business success is dictated by so many other things. So look at these people and think, what are they doing well in terms of marketing, in terms of reaching their audience? How are they talking to their audience? How have they put themselves into a niche that allows them to talk to their audience really well? If you don't fit inside that niche, that message goes over your head, and you look at a message that fits your niche and you say, well, how's this person getting ahead? This doesn't make sense. That's why you have to remove that bias and emotion and pay attention to what they're actually doing and who they're speaking to, instead of focusing on the people that are running with you, because they're all doing the same stuff as you. So if you're focusing on that, you're going to stay in that line. If you want to start to inch ahead, follow the people, pay attention to the people, get inspired by the people who are doing the things that you want to do and who are where you want to be. That's my first piece of advice that comes out of that question. It's less about who I'm inspired by, but who I should be inspired by, and potentially who you should be inspired by. My next answer to this question is a little bit wishy-washy, and I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out. But where I draw the most inspiration in general is by watching people who are completely committed to the work that they do, who are doing their own thing in the way that they want to do it and getting success out of it. I love that so much. I love people paving the way for themselves without getting bogged down in what everyone else is doing. So if I was to name a name, the biggest name that I can think of at the moment locally, because I really get inspired by people who are around me, people who I can interact with, they're a little bit more real. They're close to me. I can see what they're doing. I can talk to them. I can send them a message. It's a little bit more real than someone on the other side of the world sometimes. So if I'm talking locally, the Melbourne strength culture people and what they are doing down there, I absolutely love. I'm really inspired by that because they are being real to who they are, and they're using that as a marketing tool. They don't have to sit there and talk about coaching stuff and technique stuff and programming stuff non-stop. They can just be real. They can just be true to themselves. And I absolutely love that. So to be honest, you'll probably see what Zero does almost start to mirror a little bit of what they do, because I am drawing a lot of inspiration from what those guys are doing down there. There's so many names that I can name. I've drawn inspiration, or I've looked up to coaches who I've received mentoring from. So like I spent a week at Chad Wesley Smith's house just asking him questions and pestering him nonstop to learn about programming and to grow my programming knowledge. From there, I flew to San Francisco and I hung out with Jordan Shallow for a couple of days to pick his brain on stability and learn more about that side of things. Just recently, I spent a great chunk of time doing some personal mentoring with Pat Davidson, because everyone was going down this road of what him and Bill Hartman are putting out there in terms of the expansion compression model. I wanted to learn more about it directly from the source rather than taking everyone else's word for it. So I've been my coaching philosophy, what I believe, my education has been forged by people who are in the trenches doing this stuff. And I tend to gravitate towards people not just who talk the talk, but who walk the walk. People who know what training hard feels like, and people who live and breathe training because it's important to them, and they tend to have a more realistic lived experiences of the concepts and the principles that they tend to deliver. You've heard me reference in this podcast, if you've been listening to it, the softer style of coaching that I don't really like these days, or the style of coaching that is the style of content that is very educational based, that may not have a practical backing. People tend to be putting out a lot of information but don't actually coach a lot of people, don't spend a lot of time in the trenches, or just haven't done that. However, there are people who are really taking a bird's eye view of the educational models that are out there and just speaking the real truth to it. And one person that's doing that absolutely brilliantly is a guy called Angus Bradley. So if you're not following him, check him out. He's controversial, he's argumentative, and he's fucking fantastic. So follow him. He puts a lot of really cool stuff out there. I think one thing, following someone like Angus, who will speak with authority on a subject, but word it in such a way that's not actually saying this is the end. He's speaking with authority from a place of confidence of his understanding, and it's up to you as the consumer of that information to be able to read it and be like, does this fit within my model and my belief, or does it not? Because there's a lot of stuff that he says that either I don't necessarily agree with, or just doesn't fit my model because it's talking to a different population. The athletic population or the surfing population, for example. I work with powerlifters, not surfers. So, we're looking at slightly different things, but it's really good. It's a really good exercise to follow people who can speak like that and then teach you to think critically and to think without emotion, to think with logic about, okay, what does this actually mean? What is he saying? Where does it apply? Does it apply to me or does it not? And be able to digest that information and then make a decision, take a pathway from there. If you just follow the people that say the stuff that you like, everything's rosy. You never have to think that hard. If you just follow the people that you don't like, you become salty. You're just like, they're all idiots, I don't like them. So it's really refreshing to have someone very real like Angus. And Angus is extremely intelligent, so he's a pleasure to follow. The other people I get truly, truly inspired by, and this sounds super cheesy, it's just my members, my lifters, and the people that are around me. Like seeing people come to this place, delve into the community, fall in love with the community, and then train hard and get massive results. How is that not inspiring? Like being able to be amongst that and a part of that is truly inspiring to me. It keeps me really invested in my own training, seeing people slug it out here, regardless of their experience level or their strength level. I absolutely love it. And same goes for people who are doing that in their business. Like, for example, on paper, if you're looking at powerlifting in Australia, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to throw this out there. I would say that Zero is probably the biggest powerlifting brand in Australia. The next biggest powerlifting brand in Australia, which would therefore make them direct competition, would be Nexus Performance. Will Crozier, Mickey, and the team there. Whether or not you know this, myself, Will, Mickey, we're great friends. And we have been for a long time. They trained here for a long time. I helped them get a bunch of clients when they moved down here. We worked together. I coach Will. I still go to his competitions and handle him. So on paper, you'd be like, oh, they're competition. But in real life, they actually inspire me a great deal. Their business has grown massively. They work really hard. They're now opening a gym, 40 minutes down the road from us. I got the opportunity to go there and hang out the other day and check it out. Like, I love what those guys are doing. They continue to inspire me and to push me and to help me, work with Zero and make Zero better. And finally, my staff, the people that I get to work with every single day, they really inspire me because they've bought into this brand and they now make up the brand. Zero is no longer Thomas Lilly. Zero is the community that we have here amongst the members, but especially the staff, because the staff are the leaders of this brand. I'm not necessarily the face of Zero anymore, and that is fantastic because now I get to work amongst a group of people who represent the brand that I originally created, and that really, really, really inspires me to be a better leader, to make better decisions in the business, to help the direction of the business because of these fantastic people I have around me. So that's the answer to that question. Rather than, a couple of tags on Instagram to grab a bit of clout, I wanted to be a little bit more real. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Look forward to the changes to the Zero content in 2022. We now have CJ on board. He's going to be filming some mad stuff. We're going to change the style of the podcast, do longer episodes with more people on it, more guests. Love to hear from you as to what you want to see from us content-wise. Your input is really important to us and continues to help us grow and get better and deliver better content. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the very best for the Christmas, New Year period. And I will catch you next year.